Kingdom Hearts 3 came out about 5 years ago. We got a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 like 2 years ago. That's kind of all we've heard about it. And, the 2 year wait has had me thinking about the future Kingdom Hearts. So that's why I decided to do this project and look back on all the games and pick out, one or two, maybe a couple things that that game in particular does really well and that they should bring back in the future. Obviously, this is sort of a wish list kind of video, and not all of these can be in Kingdom Hearts 4. You know, it's kind of just a ramble. I'm just gonna talk about things that I really like that would be cool to see in the future. I'm not gonna say, Kingdom Hearts 4 doesn't have all these things, then I'm not gonna play it. That's just stupid. Going down the list, Kingdom Hearts 1. What are some things that Kingdom Hearts 1 does really well that should come back? Start with interactable environments. Kingdom Hearts 1 has a lot of situations where there's things around the level that you can interact with. And a lot of times it's really small things, like in Traverse Town, where you can light the fire in the accessory shop. And Deep Jungle, where you find all of the things in the camp. And you can use that to make potions and ethers and stuff like that. Obviously, that's like a one-time thing, so it's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, but it just makes the world feel that much more alive and interactable. And there's lots of situations where, like in Hollow Bastion, for example, the buttons, you push the buttons in the Hollow Bastion, it causes the lifts to move, go different directions. There's just a lot of things in Kingdom Hearts 1 that you can interact with and change the way that the level goes. And I think that's really cool, and they should bring it back. And also from Kingdom Hearts 1, Heartless designs. Kingdom Hearts 1 has some of the best Heartless designs in the whole series. Mainly like the Wizard and the Defender and the Invincible. And those guys, they only come back whenever it's one of the games that's like Rechain or Recoded, that is just retelling Kingdom Hearts 1's story but different. So I think it would be cool to have those Heartless reappear in a game that isn't just a rehash of Kingdom Hearts 1. Like, we had a little bit close to that in KH3 with the Dark Inferno kind of looks like an Invisible, a little bit. But I would really like to see like the Wizards and the Dark Balls and, those early Kingdom Hearts 1 designs that were really cool come back in the future. Well, we did get the Power Wilds and was it? Yeah, no Bounty Wilds in Kingdom Hearts 3, but they did bring back the Power Wilds in KH3 for the Caribbean level, so that was cool. I just think that it'd be cool if they brought back a lot of the older Heartless designs, because those were really neat. Okay, on to Chain of Memories. So, the games that have different gameplays, you're gonna have a harder time coming up with things that should be brought back, because gameplay aspects from a game that doesn't play like a traditional Kingdom Hearts game, it's gonna be harder to find things that you can bring back. But in Chain of Memories, I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that weapons with elemental affinities, I think that was a cool concept in Chain of Memories. It kind of shot you in the foot in that game, though, because you're presetting your deck, so you can't know ahead of time you're about to get into a fight with a fire type Heartless, and then you hit them with the Lionheart Keyblade and it heals them. So things like that can mess you up. So you'd have to find a way around that. But I do think that it's a neat concept, and that if you can find a workaround, like not having, like you could deal less damage to a Heartless like that, but not heal them, which later on they do that in the games. I think Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories are some of the only ones where attacking an enemy with their element heals them. Later on in games, I think they're just invincible to that element. But it would be cool if they just came up with a way to like, oh, well, it does extra damage, not, and just have it deal extra damage if it's something that's weaker to it, but not heal them if it's their actual affinity. So I think that's a neat thing they could bring back. Kingdom Hearts 2. I might be a weirdo, but I think world revisits were kind of cool. A lot of people are gonna to look at that and they'll be like, why would you want to revisit a world you've already been to? I would rather they take the time and put more worlds in than have you go back. But I think as far as effectiveness of the development time, it would be easier to make a longer game if you stick to fewer worlds and just like put more in them. And also the revisit instead of just having one really long visit, I think is cool because you're divvying it up. You're not spending too much time in one place, and so it keeps it from getting stale and also prolongs the runtime, which a lot of people tend to complain about RPGs not being as long as they used to. That's become a thing as of late because the earlier games, a lot of the runtime actually wound up being you not knowing where to go. And so then people would spend like 60, 70 hours playing a game, and then nowadays you have the more recent games that are a little more hand-holdy, then people beat them quicker because it's easier to figure out what you're doing, and then, yeah, I think that whole argument is kind of skewed a little bit, but, yeah, I think world revisits would be a good way to keep things from getting stale as well as making the game a little longer. I think it'd be pretty cool. And limits, which kind of come back in KH3, but they're not selectable. You don't get to choose when you do them. And I am a big proponent of the situation commands in 3. I don't hate them, but the fact that you can't choose when you do them, it is a little sad, and the fact there's not as many of them, because I can't say there's not as many, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, you had the one party member for the Disney World. In KH3, if you have multiple, I feel like you can get more creative with it because there's more party members involved, but also it doesn't feel as unique because it's not a Sora and one other person thing. It feels like there's more of a connection in the limits, I guess you could say. Actually, this whole point on the conversation is just because I'm salty that you couldn't do Session in KH3. I wanted to do Session with Riku, and it wasn't there. But yeah, I think limits would be cool if you bring them back, and just don't make them invincible, because I feel like that makes them a little broken, and you can just be doing a boss fight, and you get to a move you don't know how to block, and time to limit. It's kind of a get out of jail free card. People can play however they want, but I would feel bad relying on a limit for iframes instead of, figuring out the fight, but people can do whatever they want, so you can just have those in there. And then 358/2. Another game where the gameplay is kind of like the console games, but it is a little different in the setup with the panel system and everything like that. But 358/2, the thing that 358/2 nails out of the park that is really cool is the magic variety. Because all the different tiers of spells also function differently. Like, Blizzard does not do the same thing Blizzara does, or Blizzaga. All the different tiers act differently, and I think that if you put that in a console-type experience, for example, like in KH3, where you don't automatically switch to the next level, then there's more of a strategy to using lower-level spells because the situation might call for that. Like, I don't remember right this second the difference between Blizzara and Blizzaga, but I know that one of them is a homing multi-hit thing where it passes through an enemy, stops, and then goes back and hits another one. I think that's plain Blizzard. I think one of them is a mine that you sit down and then when anything gets close to it, it explodes. But I do not remember what the last Blizzard type was. But I thought about this recently because someone has made a mod for KH3 where it does that, or it gives KH3 the Days magic system. Not entirely with the panels and all that, but just it changes the way that it works as far as that is concerned. And I think that's a really cool idea, and Days did a really good job with that. And it would be cool if they bring it back for future games. And another thing that Days does really well is the multiplayer. I do feel like it would be asking a bit much to have just a normal console Kingdom Hearts experience and have like 15 more playable characters. That is a bit much, but I do think it was really cool in Days that you had all those playable characters and you could do that in mission mode and do all the missions as whoever you want. I think it does add a lot of replayability and it's just really fun. And I just think it's cool. I would love it if they did that again. But that's it from Days. But Birth by Sleep, if you've been with this channel for a considerable amount of time, then you'll know Birth by Sleep is my favorite Kingdom Hearts game and my second favorite video game of all time. So, Birth by Sleep, we're going to have a bit of a, probably a little bit longer segment here. The Mirage Arena. Really cool. I really wish they'd bring that back in the future because having it, I don't know, I feel like I like the Mirage Arena more than Olympus. It feels more unique and more of like a Kingdom Hearts thing, that it's not just borrowed from Disney. Which it is cool that the Coliseum has always been there for that, but I do like the Mirage Arena better just for the more flavor and I don't know, it feels better. I don't know why. And also has more variety because the Mirage Arena, even though some people would complain about the mini games in Birth by Sleep, it is cool to have more to do than just combat situations. So just to have a place where you can go for all of your side content, and even better if it's multiplayer and you can do it with your friends, is just really neat. And I would love to see that come back in a later game. And also because of the command deck and the way that it works, there's some really cool things that you could do with the moves in Birth by Sleep that would be nice to see in the future. Like how you have sliding dash as a deck command. For example, in Kingdom Hearts 2, then you just press X when you're far away from an enemy and then you will sliding dash towards them. But, you know, it's kind of finicky sometimes and you don't know exactly when it's going to happen, so sometimes you'll whiff. And you'll just do a normal Keyblade swing and the enemy's like 10 feet away. But I think having situational attacks like that you could like shortcut or put in the menu or something, kind of like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm not gonna lie, would be really cool. So like you'll have like sliding dash and you can like shortcut that to something and you can do sliding dash because you're far away and then knock an enemy up into the air and then cast thunder, but not actually thunder. Like what if you had like Thunder Surge that you could like shortcut and it just cost MP and stuff? Like that would be so cool. And there's also like some of the deck commands in Birth by Sleep are like really unique. Like for the Mirage Arena, you can learn Vanish and turn invisible. And they brought that back in Dream Drop Distance as well. But I think it would be really cool to have those situational moves like that you can learn. And then you have like Treasure Raid and Money Magnet. So like just having moves that have utility outside of do damage or hit a certain area, I think that would be really cool to bring back. And then also the Keyblade armor. Because I have yet to see people that complained about the Keyblade armor, like, oh, the Keyblade armor is stupid. And a lot of people don't like the gummy ship, so it would be really cool to bring Keyblade armor in the future. You wouldn't really be able to do it in a mainline game because Donald and Goofy probably won't get Keyblade armor and you can't use it instead of a gummy ship, which I don't want them to replace the gummy ship anyway because I like the gummy ship. I think it's pretty fun. But yeah, bring back Keyblade armor. It's really cool. Recoded. Recoded is a game that is chock full of cool gameplay ideas. And some of them should definitely come back in the future because Recoded is just so fun. But the Keyblades in Recoded have unique unique combo strings. I know the unique combo strings didn't originate from Recoded because they were in Days first, actually. Days did that first. But it does feel like they're better implemented in Recoded because I had actually forgotten that it was in Days until I looked back at them like, wait, Days also did that. But the fact that I forgot it was in days just means that Recoded did it better. So yeah, bring back the unique combo strings from Recoded. That was a cool idea. Like the Olympus Keyblade is like the short, it's like short jagged swings. You really feel the pop of them. And which you kind of get that in Cage 3, but you have to go into a form change before that's actually a thing. So I think that just having Keyblades that swing differently, like some of them are faster, some are slower, like I think that would be really cool. And it makes it more varied. When you switch a Keyblade, it's not just, oh, this ability is different or the stats are different. It changes up the gameplay more. Like I said, it's like form changes, but in base form, and I think that's really cool. And then also the switches in the Matrix, where you can go and set your HP, lower the HP for higher prize drops, and you can switch the difficulty anytime. And stuff like that was really cool in Recoded. It would be neat to see that come back. I don't know how they would make that make sense outside of the computer world where that hasn't built-in explanation for it. But I think as a concept, that's really cool. And if they could either find a way to rationalize it or just say, hey, this is here, it's fun, who cares, the explanation. I think that would be really neat. And then another thing from Recoded is replayable dungeons. Because you have the, I can't think of what they're called right now, but you know whenever the hot and cold game where you have to find the door to the place and is and I just can't think of the name of it right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. The thing with the multiple floors and you have to fight through the different requirements, beat all the enemies, and you earn points. Those were really cool. And I think it would be really neat to have those in a future game where you can go and replay segments and like strategize around the requirements and all that stuff. And just Recoded's a lot of fun. It has a whole bunch of stuff like that. And then there's also the turn-based segment in Olympus, which would be blasphemy for action combat fanboy over here to be like, hey, they should do something turn-based. And I just really like the turn-based segment in Olympus. Okay, I don't have much of a justification for it. I just think it's cool, and I'd like to see it come back. I would. It'd be kind of neat. So that's it for Recoded. But Dream Drop Distance, one of the biggest things that they had in Dream Drop Distance that was really cool was refightable bosses. The bosses in Recoded. Not Recoded. We're done with Recoded. Dream Drop Distance. You have the portals that show up after you beat the game. And you can go back and refight all of the bosses of the individual worlds, but they're like higher level. That feels like such an easy post-game content to implement. Because the fight's already there. All you have to do is manipulate the stats. And people already like refighting bosses. Like, I know people in Kingdom Hearts 2 have save points just before certain bosses so they can refight them, which was a lot easier to do in Kingdom Hearts 2 and earlier games because you had like 99 save files. But come Kingdom Hearts 3, you only have like 9. So a really easy way to get around that would be to do what Dream Drop Distance does and have the portals where you can just go back and choose to refight such and such boss. And I think it's just a shoe-in. It's just so easy. Just up the stats and give us a refight boss option. You know? Fanbase kind of fixed that problem with Cage 3 when they did the Coliseum mod, because if you get the mod for Cage 3, you can just go to the Coliseum and choose to refight whichever boss, but that's not in the same arena, so there's a little difference there. But I think it's really cool, and it would just be, free post-game content. Just increase the stats and let us fight them again. It's really cool. 0.2. Kind of a short game. There's not a lot here content-wise to pull from. Because most of the actual combat stuff is in Cage 3. But the customization is like the big thing that stands out from 0.2. playing dress up with Aqua. It was pretty neat, and I know that a lot of people were hoping that it came back in KH3, and it did not, alas. But yeah, I think that the customization from 0.2 would be neat to see a return in the future. And that's kind of all there is to say there. Kind of short and sweet for that one. And for KH3, the things that should come back in the future. Something I really liked about KH3 was the explorable gummy space. The 3D movement and how you're actually flying from world to world. It's not a preset path. And there's all the collectibles. You can collect money, you can shoot asteroids and get synthesis materials and do the treasure spears. I feel like there's a lot of cool things with the gummy ship in KH3, and I played it for hours and hours. I would actually lose track of time and just be out there shooting asteroids for like an hour. And that's pretty impressive, because I know a lot of the times people don't like the gummy ship at all, but in KH3 I just ran away with it, and I just had so much fun. I also spent more time building a gummy ship in KH3 because it felt more rewarding, because like when you collect things, you're like, oh, well, that's what I did to collect it, and it's just really satisfying. A real cool gameplay loop when the things from the gummy ship actually help you in the actual combat, because you can use the materials to upgrade your keyblades and make you stronger, and it gave a good reason for doing it. So I just think the gummy ship was really well implemented in KH3. So that would be cool to see in the future. And another thing is air step. Really useful for combat. Also really useful for just getting around in general. Especially in like the Caribbean and in Toy Box. Because the Caribbean you can air step to the ship from really far away. And that's really helpful. And also to the Gigas in Toy Story. Because like you can use it to get to a Gigas and immediately hop right in there and get to your mech combat. But I think it's really well implemented. It's good for getting in close to enemies really quickly, and it integrates with the flow motion attacks really well. It's just a whole lot of useful stuff there. As well as the mid-air guard, which actually didn't originate in KH3, because actually I think the first time might have been Aqua in Birth by Sleep, because she had the barrier. But it's just really useful, and it really helps in the game that people complain so often about floatiness, that you still have defensive options even if you're up in the air. And that can't be said about some other games like KH2. Like, I don't know, you just, sometimes if you're up in the air, you're just out of luck. Come to mind the Sephiroth fight in KH2. If he launches you up in the air, your only option is to time your aerial recovery really right or reflect, and that's not possible if you're out of magic. So it just really helps you to not be helpless. So I think it would be really cool if they brought back mid-air guard in future games. But I think that's it for KH3. Union Cross. This gets back to the thing we were talking about earlier with the games that don't play like normal Kingdom Hearts games, it being harder to find something to pull from. But one of the biggest strengths of Union Cross is its unformulaic story for a Kingdom Hearts game. A lot of times, Kingdom Hearts games tend to fall into the I'm just going to find my friends, and if saving the world kind of happens to be like second fiddle to that. Union Cross kind of flips it on its head. We're trying to save the world, but by saving the world, we're saving our friends. And also the bigger cast, because once again, a lot of Kingdom Hearts games fall into the trio of characters thing, where it's formulaic, and we know that it's coming, but it kind of works, so you can't complain about it too much. But it is really cool that Union Cross flips it up, and it's not just these two guys and a girl that are friends, and then bad things happen. So it's like a one person, and then a group of like 5 or 6 people, and it's just the setup is different. And so it does make for a more interesting story compared to a lot of the other games, because it's not as copy-paste, even though that's not a main complaint that I would levy against Kingdom Hearts, but it is cool to see it whenever it doesn't happen. So I will say that for a fact. And then Dark Road. The thing from Dark Road that should come back is that it has good character motivations. It likes to explain, why certain characters feel certain ways and act certain ways. It does really well with that, with Ericus and Xehanort, and you can really see their disagreements with things and the reasons they are the reasons they are the way they are. And as well as it also does the Disney World really well. It has good reasons for them showing up and links them back into the overall plot in a cool and interesting way. So that's really cool. And Melody of Memory, once again, a game that doesn't play traditionally, but the collectibles in Melody of Memory, it was really cool to collect all the Keyblades and the cutscene pictures and that sort of thing. So that's not really a major thing, but it was something about Melody of Memory that was pretty cool, and I like to see it come back in some form or fashion. It's pretty neat. But yeah, that was a fun little exercise, looking back on all of the games. But I think that's going to be it. But just things from other games that should come back. I think all these things were pretty cool, and it would be neat to see them again.